This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
And we welcome you to a very special edition of the Fatal Four-Way here as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network. Now, ordinarily, first of all, there would be four of us, and two, we would be on ONTV. However, because of scheduling conflicts, we'll say ONTV is actually down covering the Woodward Cruise here tonight. So we have switched over to our platforms here on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course, Riverside.fm. Brian Balth is not going to be joining us, but with me right now is Sean Rugel, and we anticipate in just a moment, at some point, Hollywood Q, Quadell Edwards. I know he has seen the link, Sean, so it's just a matter of time. So the fourth member of our show here tonight is going to be you, the audience. And if you are following us on the Facebook feed, you will see a link in the live chat. You click on that link, it puts you into a virtual waiting room. We hit the button, boom, you're on the show with us live. But if you don't want to be on camera, you can still correspond with us through the live chat on Facebook. With that being said, I mean, right out of the gate, David Melbourne is watching us as we're doing this, as he does with all of our live streams here on the network. Always good to hear from him. Sean, how's things with you, man? It's been a minute since we've done it in this realm, but it's good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next in the next few weeks with the Karrion Kross saga. I've really been keeping an eye on this because I've been called out on quite a few things that I've said here recently. And but no, man, life is good. I'm on the right side of the dirt. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and the beer is flowing. So everything is right in my world.
Glad to hear that, certainly. And we're going to get to Karrion Kross. We're going to look at the AEW and New Japan Forbidden Door pay-per-view, kind of highlight some of the matches that they have scheduled. We're going to be looking at the potential new TNA TV deal that could be in the works and what that means for the entire landscape of the industry. But along those lines, I kind of want to start with this, and that is the big news that came down the wire last week. Something that, I'll be honest with you, brother, I never in a million years would have expected a business partnership between World Wrestling Entertainment and ESPN. You know, ESPN for the longest time did everything they could to distance themselves from all things pro wrestling. Although I do remember my first time hearing anything wrestling related mentioned on an ESPN broadcast, and that was the passing of Andre the Giant back in January of 1993. I was watching SportsCenter, And towards the end of that episode, they flashed this picture up and made mention that Andre the Giant had passed away. And I'm like, well, that just spoke volumes on the impact and the influence that somebody like Andre the Giant made. But now here we are all these years later, and not only is WWE being mentioned on ESPN programming, they've actually started a partnership, albeit a kind of a controversial one. What we're talking about, if you're out of the loop, uh, ESPN and WWE have come to an agreement for 5 years worth $1.6 billion just to cover the premium live events. Um, oh, Dave, you're right. ESPN did cover the AWA, and they did cover Global Wrestling Federation back in the day. But in terms of getting out of that, they for a hot minute they did everything they could to distance themselves from professional wrestling. Now, this organization or this outlet just spent $1.6 billion for a 5-year deal, not to cover weekly shows or anything. We're talking the premium live events, or the what was formerly known as pay-per-view. Um, I'm torn on this. Actually, I'm not torn. I'm kind of pissed off about it, if I can be honest with you, because now with this deal, in addition to Peacock, which has all the other WWE programming, in addition to a cable provider that carries the USA Network, in addition to Netflix, the exclusive home of Monday Night Raw, us as wrestling fans, if we wanted to watch everything WWE starting in 2026, it's going to cost us $1,000 a year. We paid that to watch WrestleMania in the stadium. You feel me? And it's crazy to me that this is where we're at in the business model of professional wrestling. I don't know if I can include all of professional wrestling, but certainly with WWE. In addition to this, in the meantime, ESPN has removed UFC off their platform, who they themselves just signed a new deal with Paramount Plus, but they kind of swapped with the TKO umbrella. Sean, you've been watching wrestling as long as I have. You and I, our fandom is very similar in terms of how we grew up, what we watched, what got us involved in the business. What is your takeaway with this whole thing between WWE and ESPN?
It's not Vince's WWE anymore, is it?
No, it sure the hell is not.
It's completely based on TKO, their business model. Obviously, something big is going to happen here shortly. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you will. But live events have gotten outrageously expensive. People are paying for them. People are going to be paying, like you said, upwards of $1,000. Actually, someone figured it out, it was about a little over $1,200 a year. People are going to pay to watch it. Merchandise. When you went to WrestleMania, how much was your T-shirt?
45.
45.
$45 for a T-shirt. I mean, that's just your plain, or I shouldn't say plain, your basic T-shirt. If you wanted a jersey, you've seen my WrestleMania jersey that my girl got me. That son of a bitch was $110.
Oh, I believe it.
It's just like, but that's a Fanatics thing too. That, there was a significant jump when WWE got out of their own merchandising production and signed on with the Fanatics group. So that's part of it. But I look back on pictures of when I was a kid wearing wrestling shirts. Those were $11 or $12 T-shirts.
Yep.
And they were nice T-shirts.
Yep.
But now here we are paying $40, $50. don't talk about these goddamn belts.
Right? Your belts, action figures can run anywhere from 25 all the way up to $120. I've been seeing.
Mhm.
TKO isn't pro wrestling for pro wrestling fans. TKO is in it for the money. I liken TKO to a casino. People like to go to casinos. They like to gamble. They think they're going to bring home just thousands of dollars in their pockets. But casinos weren't built to give away money. That's exactly what's going on with TKO. Do I necessarily agree with what they're doing? Absolutely not. I think that ESPN, they've always had rights exclusively to certain cable systems. And if you're an Xfinity subscriber, you're still going to get Peacock for free. I get Peacock for free. You're still going to get the PLEs through ESPN for free. So I think what they're doing here is they're trying to, in a sense, change the tide of going to just streaming, and instead of cutting the cable, they want to bring the cable back. You see where I'm getting at? I think they're getting more money being exclusive to some of these cable systems, and that's why they were able to procure it. What'd you say, for $5 billion or $1.5 billion? How much was it?
$1.6 billion for a 5-year deal to be the exclusive provider of the PLEs.
Yeah, that's a billion with a B.
Yeah.
Where do you think this money's coming from? I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But there's ways in this world, and I'm not suggesting that anyone goes out and gets themselves a streaming app or a streaming box or anything like that. But in this day and age, there's ways to work around it, and you'll still be able to watch your PLEs for free.
We kind of mentioned this last Tuesday on the Sports Reel podcast. Tim Sheridan and Eric Mandel and I were breaking this down, and it's just crazy to me because, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, as streaming services were starting to become popular, I'm like, well, we're looking at the end of what we know as the traditional cable outlets. And now, with all of this shit going on, and it's not exclusive to wrestling, because if you are an NFL fan, you have to subscribe to 5 different platforms to watch all of your games. And the NFL is smart about it because they are the juggernaut that is. And they have we'll use the Detroit Lions for example. In order to watch all of the Detroit Lions games, especially for their primetime games, some games are on Monday Night Football, some games are on Thursday Night Football, some game, you know what I mean? And each night has their own home. Amazon and now Netflix is getting in on it. So if you want to watch all of your team's games, you have to find a way. Either you got to go over to a buddy's house, or if you don't want to hang out with anybody, you are expected to subscribe to all of these platforms that wind up being damn near just as expensive, if not more, than what we were paying for cable. So now people are looking at, well, damn, maybe I should look into a yearly subscription with YouTube TV, or something along those lines. Or if you're going the traditional cable route with Xfinity and Spectrum and whoever else does, I don't even know if satellite is still a thing at this point. It's just it's nuts to me that all of these sports conglomerates, it seems to me they have put more emphasis on the almighty dollar than the actual supports of the fans that made them the billion-dollar entities that they are. And I understand they're in the business to make money. Yes. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that at all. What I do argue is that you are pricing your fan base out of interest, because I'm not putting, facts and figures on a personal level, but I can't afford to be subscribing. I to all these platforms just to watch my team or all the WWE shit. Like, what the fuck are we doing right now? It's nuts to me. And
Well,
this is what I worried about with the creation of TKO. They're going to squeeze every bit of juice out of the entity that we know as World Wrestling Entertainment and then sell it off. And what pisses me off about this, Sean, is sitting at at the board table is a WWE guy in The Rock. He's a part of this shit. And with as much influence as that guy's got, he could stand and be like, you guys, look, we're making a shit ton of money here. But if we don't have a fan base, we ain't gonna be making money. He's a wrestling guy. So what are we doing right now?
he ain't
It's
a
driving
wrestling
me
guy.
nuts.
He ain't a wrestling guy anymore. He's a Hollywood guy. He's a money
Well,
guy. You know,
facts.
he's proven this. I mean, we knew TKO was going to do this when he started off portions of the ring mat. You know, that mat was always supposed to be sacred, you know, and every time you watch a WWE program, there's a new sponsor in the middle of the ring, a new sponsor in each corner of the ring, and now we got the Slim Jim breakaway tables. And, you know, it just drives me nuts anymore that everything has some sort of product placement on WWE programming. To me, in one sense, like I said, I hate it, but I tell you what, Jason, I do miss those days where you would invite, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 friends over to your house, all chip in to get the pay-per-view, all chip in to get that pizza, you know, and have that sense of community once again. But who knows, man, if I don't know. ESPN has gone so far down the rabbit hole with obscure sports. I mean, the other day they had cornhole on there, the World Cornhole Championships. So they have to get something like the WWE to regenerate interests. The Ocho.
Is that right?
Yeah, World Cornhole Championships.
Every time I hear the old show, I think of what was a dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, dodgeball. So every time I hear that, I can see Gary Cole, I can see Jason Bateman sitting there broadcasting this shit. I just man, it's getting incredibly frustrating. I know this is 2025 and the value of our dollar is not what it was back in the 80s and the 90s, but I think that's why I look back on like the Attitude Era. Even going into the ruthless aggression era when it was still your traditional pay-per-view model, that was part of the anticipation was having your friends over and experiencing these events with your buddies, with your family. And I can go back on Peacock and watch some event, even if it's something like Fully Loaded or some bullshit pay-per-view like that. But like I have fond memories of that. I can remember where I was at. I was at my apartment in Davison and I had all these people over there. Like that was part of it. Now, I mean, we can still do that with the streaming avenue, but again, it's going to get to a point to where we as the consumer, when we look at our bills, when we look at our expenses, what the fuck do you think is going to be the first things that get cut out? Like, I need electricity. I'm not going to forego my electricity just so I have ESPN Plus or whatever the hell they're going to wind up calling it. Now, I do understand that there are ways around this with the VPN gimmick that, and I understand that. But why should I go that route? Because it's just a matter of time before that shit gets shut down too. Do you think there's not people within the industry that's not going to be paying attention to that, and they're going to find a way to make that shit illegal, like piracy? It's just a matter of time. We're on borrowed time, and I feel like, and I know this is the old school mentality of how I view things, and I know it's outdated and it's out of the loop, but I go back to the basic foundation of if you don't have fans watching your shit, you don't have a product, no matter what you're doing price wise. And professional wrestling fans are extremely loyal, but you're starting to alienate them. You really, truly are. And I'm worried, Sean, and I worried about this when UFC and WWE merged as TKO. I'm like, man, I mean, say what you want about Vince McMahon, like as polarizing as he is, as controversial as he is, he still had his finger on the pulse of what the fans wanted as fans. Maybe not from a creative standpoint, but from a business standpoint. You know, when he launched the WWE network, it was $9.99 a month, man. You would be stupid not to get that, because if you were to watch 2, 3 pay-per-views, it paid for itself.
Right.
Because WrestleMania went up to goddamn $70 just to watch one night, you know. So it's absolutely insane where this shit is going. And again, I have a lot of personal animosity towards Dwayne Johnson, because he has the ability to be an influencer in this and to calm this shit down. How many billions of dollars do you really need? Now you're just being greedy. Now you're just being an asshole about the whole thing. And it's, if it wasn't for wrestling, there wouldn't be Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You feel me?
That's true. But do you feel, and we were kind of talking about this off air, but maybe why TKO is increasing all their prices on everything and garnering so many sponsorships and selling off the rights to their PLEs, I feel like they're going to go out there. They're going to go after all these mainstream tape libraries. I believe they're going to go after all these larger companies, you know, the GCWs, I don't know them all. I'd be stupid if I tried to say them all. But go out there, acquire all their tape libraries, and acquire these promotions, and create a monopoly, and essentially chase Tony Khan and AEW out of here.
Dave brought up this point here. All WWE stars are going to wear sponsorships on their trunks like NASCAR. That's actually fucking happening. That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's been happening in UFC for years.
Yeah. Yep. And this is the UFC. And I mean, you look at the ring itself, that is a UFC influenced thing, because Vince McMahon would never allow anything on the canvas of the ring.
Right.
Because in his mind, that was sacred ground for the performers. It was one of the things I admired most about Vince. Now, Vince as a person, as a human, yes, piece of shit. But as a businessman and as somebody who created this in the platform or the genre of sports entertainment that we know, he still kept shit in perspective. Yeah, the video boards would have the logo. This match is sponsored by Vagisil or whatever the hell it was. But I don't know why.
I'm not questioning
I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be funny, and I probably offended somebody. It's fine. I'm sorry if I offended you, but get the fuck over yourselves.
About 30 vaginas just went.
Hey, joining us right now, Hollywood Q, Claude L. Edwards. Q, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm having an old man moment, man.
Why, did you fall asleep?
No, I couldn't get in. I had to pretty much delete the app and then re-download it, and then it started, doing what it was supposed to do. But hey, I made it. Here I am.
Hey, better late than never, and I'm happy about it.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys. How's everybody doing?
Hey, we're doing good, man. Listen, we're talking about this WWE ESPN deal right out of the gate here this week on the Fatal 4-Way. And again, if anybody wants to be a part of the show, hit the link in the live chat on Facebook. It'll put you into a virtual waiting room. I get the notification. We'll bring you on the show, or you can correspond with us in the live chat. Q, 5 years, $1.6 billion for ESPN to be the exclusive provider of WWE premium live events. What's your takeaway on this?
I think this is something that they wanted. If you can see the strategy that WWE is really implementing, is they're covering every platform right now. I mean, you have them on multiple different streaming apps now. You still got them on cable TV. You still got them on broadcast television. They are pretty much taking up the market of how you watch wrestling, and it's going to be very, very hard for someone like AEW to counteract something like that, because unless AEW remains in good standings with Warner Brothers, they're going to be screwed if they can't get that deal renewed in, I think it's 2027. WWE is playing it very smart, and I said it before that this Nick Khan was probably the second or third greatest hire of Vince McMahon, because every deal that this man is making is bringing in, I mean, boatloads of money. And now that they're over there with the NFL and the NBA, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. I thought Netflix was big. ESPN, and the news came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The news came out of nowhere. I know they were planning on negotiations, because the Peacock deal runs out next year, I believe, before or right after WrestleMania or somewhere around that area. So I know talks were going to start picking up, but man, they are not playing when it comes to visibility. And not only are we talking about all of these different streaming and broadcast television, they got YouTube on lock. Because if you think about it, ESPN is not picking up the library.
Not
So
yet.
the library, not yet. But I honestly believe that they're going to strike a deal with YouTube. If you notice, they have the WWE Vault channels that's blowing up now. They got the WCW Vault channel. They're gonna have ECW Vault channel before you know it. They're If you look at the metrics and the analytics of the numbers of what was really drawing, people was watching Peacock not for the library, but really for the live events. That's where the money was. That's where the money was being made. They were watching WrestleMania live, Backlash, all the SummerSlam. They were watching all of the live events, and they realized, man, we can just move all of the library over to YouTube, get more money out of that, because YouTube is actually paying big now for content. If you have WWE with 3 to 4 different channels, you're talking about getting paid 4 times the amount of some of these other big YouTube channels that they have out there. I mean, I got to give it to Nick Khan. Nick Khan is a big time businessman, and he's probably the second or third most important hire that Vince McMahon has ever made.
I would totally agree with that. And for a while, Nick Khan made me nervous. I felt like, man, this guy, he's not a wrestling guy, and I was so used, just like Sean was, I'm sure. We were so used to WWE being run by wrestling people. Then you started bringing outside influencers, outside business people under the umbrella. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that when they don't know anything about the wrestling business? But then I realized
Right.
I'm focusing on the wrong word here. They're bringing in business people. Now we talked about this on the last episode of the Fatal Four Way when we were at ONTV. I listened to a podcast with Nick Khan, and I come away from that. I'm like, wow, this guy really does care. I totally changed my whole perspective of him. But at this, that was for Lori. Um, she Nick Khan, I would dare say, Q, that he is the best hire that Vince McMahon ever made, because you see what he's done after Vince. Because we didn't know what WWE was going to look like after Vince McMahon. Like, for the longest time, I didn't think there would ever be a WWE without Vince McMahon until he died. And then it was going to go to Shane, or it was going to go to Triple H and Stephanie. I am happy that Triple H has been able to maintain his position, and I think he's doing a good job. Other people will argue with me on that, and that's fine. Um, we can have that conversation. But what I'm worried about, and what Sean and I were just sitting here talking about, is I'm worried that the entire TKO umbrella is essentially going to squeeze all the juice out of what we know as World Wrestling Entertainment and sell it off to another person who doesn't know how to run the business. And like, that's what I'm scared to death of. Um, talking about TV deals and all this stuff, and when we go into another topic here in a little bit, that's going to be brought back up again. I'm just worried that they're so focused on making the billions of dollars, they're forgetting about the people that are paying the billions of dollars, and that's us as the consumer. We're going to be spending over $1,000 next year to watch everything WWE across 5 different platforms. This is where I'm having a
Yep.
problem. So, have to wait and see, I guess.
The Ocho.
I totally agree.
I do want to say one thing. Eric Cherry brought up a good point that during the Vince McMahon era, there was a time where there was a logo on the ring, and that was WrestleMania 12. If you go back and watch that show, you saw that the logo for that event was screen printed on the canvas. The difference is that wasn't a corporate sponsorship; that was the event's title. So, and that was a one and done thing with him. I think he saw that, he's like, even though that's my shit, I'm not digging it. So I don't know. It's the business end of this is what really has me nervous. And I just want them to keep us, the consumer, the fans, at the forefront of their decisions, not how much money they can line their own pockets with. You know. All right. Let's move on to this other piece of business that has dominated the IWC in the last week, and I have a very controversial take on this. But before I get to that, I'll let you two um, talk about it. Karrion Kross and this hubbub about his contract expiring with WWE. I spent some time this morning watching Vince Russo on his live stream.
Poor man. Were you bored?
Listen, I know Vince Russo draws a lot of heat, and a lot of it is justified. But I got all the respect in the world for Vince Russo. Like, I was a fan of his when he was writing for the WWF magazine back in the day as Vic Menna. And while I don't think he was necessarily the architect for the Attitude Era, there are things that I have a lot of respect for him for. So I was listening to him, and I was sitting here just to have him go on the rants that he was, and then you go online and you see this hashtag We Want Cross thing. A contract apparently was offered, but reneged or rejected or whatever the case may be. As we stand right now, Karrion Kross evidently is no longer with WWE. He's apparently going to be taking independent bookings, regaining the use of the Killer Cross name. Before I get into my take on this, Sean, we'll start with you. What is your takeaway with this whole Karrion Kross shit?
Well, he went on. Hey, first of all, get this. I was listening to Busted Open today. And yeah, it really was. But they were talking. It was Denise Salcedo was on there, and she was talking about Karrion Kross did a interview on this guy's show. Forgive me when I mispronounce his name because I'm totally gonna mispronounce it. Is it like Ariel Harawani or something like that?
Harawani, yeah.
Kross was literally using wrestling terms saying, this is not a work, this is a shoot, blah, blah, blah. I've said it on another podcast and I'll say it here. Wrestling has to take different aspects of real life in order to produce a work that is going to pull the wool over these smart mark's eyes. And with Karrion Kross at this point, I think he's really stretching by using those terms. I totally think this is 110% a work, just like I called it when I said the deal with R-Truth was a work. And, you know, they're trying to fade those lines between reality and fiction. I mean, because even R-Truth is saying it wasn't a work, it was a shoot, I didn't have my contract. I really think that they're allowing Kross to do some of these independent bookings so that way when the IWC see his return and he comes back, they're going to think they had something to do with it, and he's going to get a bigger reception when he comes through that curtain than he would have if they wouldn't have done this. Scarlett, I think putting Scarlett out there saying that she wasn't even offered a contract, that gives you that whole sympathy pop. You know, oh, well, you know, he ain't taking the contract because, you know, Scarlett wasn't offered a contract, and poor Scarlett, she never got a chance to wrestle. So imagine the pop she's going to get when she comes through that curtain. This, in my opinion, gentlemen, is a new type of work by the WWE. They have to find new ways in order to blur those lines. And I will say it here and I will say it now. Killer Kross is coming to WWE. I said on another podcast, probably next week. I say give it a couple weeks. Give it to, I don't know, give it to SummerSlam. You'll see Killer Kross.
Q, what do you think about this whole Karrion Kross, Killer Kross thing? Are we being worked here? Because I know there was internal anger about the Seth Rollins cash-in that happened at SummerSlam. Like, it took a lot of people by surprise, but rumblings started happening in the days leading up to that happening at SummerSlam. Before he cashed in on CM Punk. What's your opinion on this whole thing with him? Is this a work? Is this a shoot? What's your opinion here?
I kind of see it as a, I don't know if you want to call it a hybrid or a blend of the two. Like maybe it started off as a shoot and then it's going to end up being a work, or, you know, whatever the case may be. To be honest, I don't know what the long-term benefit this is actually going to have. If you look at the R-Truth situation, you're talking about the man had all kind of buzz, came out on Monday Night Raw, cut his hair, and now he's just back there in catering with Nikki Bella and the rest of them. You know, it's you get that short term excitement, but then the follow up is just, you know, there's nothing behind it. So was it even worth it? I mean, I'm glad that, whatever the situation with R-Truth was, I'm glad that he's still around. But as far as Karrion Kross, this this is confusing to me, because if it is a work, then what are they going to do to kind of like keep this thing going? Are they going to keep this guy as popular, as he should be? Or, because pretty much everything that really made him popular is pretty much all Karrion Kross. All the stuff that he was doing on social media, and, you know, he was beginning to get himself an aura. He was beginning to get himself a personality, instead of just being that, guy, Vaude Cross, or he was beginning to get more of a personality. I think if it's a shoot, then WWE need to come to terms and figure something out, because the wrestling fans do genuinely like this guy, and you need characters. He's not the best in the ring, but as a character, you need those mid to upper card, maybe, lower card. You need these characters to kind of fill out a 2 to 3 hour show, so whatever the case may be, I would like to just see it resolved, because I'm kind of not really interested in seeing, is it a work or is it a shoot? Is it an angle? What's going on here? Let's get the ball rolling with Cross. And another thing is, we got Brock Lesnar back, and I kind of want to tie it in here. I don't know how many people was excited to see Brock. I know he got the big pop at SummerSlam, but I believe that was a surprise. It was a surprise. And I was watching that post show when the crowd was chanting, "We want Cross," and Triple H is like, "Oh, you got Brock. You got him. You got him." And I'm like, man, what? How tone deaf can you be? Like, man, the fans want something, and sometimes I think Triple H get real irritated by what the fans want, and it's like he doesn't really know how to balance that. But I don't know, man. This whole thing with Cross, I'm ready to see the resolution of it.
All right. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate Sean's take on this. Here's my take. If I could be so bold and honest, I don't give a fuck about Karrion Kross. I think at this point, he is the most overrated guy right now. The difference between him and R-Truth is longevity, and we have an emotional attachment to R-Truth. We really wanted this dude to not go anywhere. We wanted him to be more prominent. We wanted him because he entertains us. I'm not saying Karrion Kross is not a talented worker. He is. But there is not one thing about that guy, including Scarlett being in his corner, that interests me. I don't care if he goes to AEW. I don't care if he goes to MLW. I don't care if he goes to Japan. As far as I'm concerned, he can go. And it ain't going to bother me one way or the other, because there is nothing about that guy that resonates with me. I think the whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I think a lot of this has been fueled by an IWC that is so desperate to be influencers on the main stage of WWE. Like that, he was just the guy that they put their eggs in that basket. Not because they necessarily like him. They just want to know that they still move the needle, much like they did with R-Truth. Here's the thing, man. Karrion Kross and R-Truth, they're not on the same level for the reasons that I just laid out. They just wanted to be part of a movement, because even if they were to bring Karrion Kross back, you would get that one initial pop. Oh my God, he's here. I guarantee you by week 3, they ain't going to give a shit about you. I promise you that. That is what makes the IWC so toxic. They don't care about. I got care. I got to reword this. The IWC is more interested in just being heard and making the needle move, instead of the substance of the movement that they're putting their support behind. It just so happens is right now it's Karrion Kross. It was R-Truth. Before that, we could go back to Daniel Bryan, the whole Yes movement. Now, this wasn't in my notes, but you made mention of Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam after Cena had lost the WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett were signing off and enjoy these last few months of John Cena, blah blah blah. So as soon as those opening chords of his music hit, everybody lost their minds. Everybody popped. It was a huge pop. But what happened by that following Friday? Everybody started shitting on Brock Lesnar. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, you fuckers need to figure out what side of the road you're going to be on here. And that's what drives me nuts about going onto Twitter, especially Twitter, because that's where they feast, man. And it is toxic. It's incredibly toxic. They're not here to be wrestling fans. They're here to just make noise, in my opinion. Sean, what's your opinion on that? Am I off my rocker here? Am I just the old guy?
Well, if you're just the old guy, it makes me the older guy. 110% agree with you. I mean, one prime perfect example is I'll just put it like this: entrance music. They just want to be a part of something. It don't matter who it is. If they got cool music, they're singing it, they're gonna be heard. It's just Eric Cherry. I heard a few rumors about Seth's injury being a work. Does it work? I just feel like with all this here, if WWE keeps doing these work shoots, kind of like how we did in the NWO, Jason, when no one knew what was going on, they're going to have to figure out a way to keep it fresh and not let it get stale. Because every time there's a contract negotiation, everyone's going to start calling it a work. And the IWC will be the most vocal about that.
Q, am I off my rocker here?
No, I mean you're still on your rocker, man. You're good to go. I mean, I understand. I totally get it, man. Because the IWC, will have you. If you had hair, you will pull it all out, man. I'm telling you. There was times that I even got on a post and I corrected something that somebody said and then the arguments will break out and I just got to get out of there. Like, man, it's a cesspool.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a cesspool, and they don't know a thing about what they're talking about. They just want to make sure that you are wrong. And so I don't really get into it, man. But as far as this work shoot and everything, WWE is really trying to get more reality based. They want to be more, and it's weird. This is a weird era that we're living in, because they want to be more reality based, but then I'll go and watch Unreal, and then I see everything unraveled. It's very, very strange, and I don't even think the IWC know how to handle it. So they just keep making noise. That's all they could do, is just make noise.
You bring up a couple points here, and I'm with you. I have seen people post inaccurate information. I have gone on there, and I start off being very respectful, and I will even start off with all due respect, what you said here is historically inaccurate, and here's why. And you get butchered for telling these people that they're wrong. Instead of them spewing misinformation, you come on here or you go on there and you're like, no, this is not what it was or how it was. Let me tell you how it was from somebody that was a part of that era, because the everybody wants that Monday Night War type of mentality back. Listen, folks, it ain't fucking happening. It's never going to happen again. Get off that soapbox. There will never be another Monday Night War, and I don't care what day or time or anything that any shows are on. There will never be that same fevered pitch that there was back in the day. It's not happening. Let it go. Number one. Number two, in this day and age where everybody has to know everything about everybody, there is from my opinion, there is a calculated, um, resurgence of kayfabe in a digital era, where we have social media at our disposal and everybody wants to be in the know. But if you're constantly in the know, where's the surprise? Where is that element of surprise that made professional wrestling so great? And Eric brought up a great point here. That's what made the Lesnar return so impactful. Nobody saw that coming, because a week and a half prior to SummerSlam, God damn, who was it? Somebody from UFC came out and said that Lesnar was on the banned list of TKO because of his um, alleged involvement with the Vince McMahon lawsuit. And then once Lesnar comes back, nobody saw that coming. And then WWE was quick to say, no, he was legally cleared prior to SummerSlam. So Lesnar is no longer a part of this lawsuit, apparently, and I don't want to get into all that right here this week. But there is a concentrated effort to restore kayfabe in professional wrestling, even with all of these advances that we have at our disposal now. I need the IWC, and forgive me because I know this is going to piss people off. I need you all to shut the fuck up and just watch the show. If you don't
move, Cotton.
change the channel. You can have an opinion. But don't put your opinion out there as fact and then start bullying people when you are being called out for being fundamentally fucking wrong. You people are part of the toxicity that is still a dark cloud over this industry. Just be a fan, man. If you want to be in the business, go through the proper channels to be a part of the business, like Sean did, like I did, like everybody else did. There are proper channels to be a part of this. Just be a fan and enjoy the show. Maybe, just my 2 cents. All right.
That's a good 2 cents, man. I mean, it keeps the stress away.
100%. Because why are we stressing ourselves out by watching something that we're supposed to love? It shouldn't be this deep.
Right.
All right. Let's
they're making it that deep.
100%. 100%. Talk about TV deals. And you talk about competition between organizations. That's going to bring us to our next topic here tonight. And that is the rumors and speculation of TNA may be moved to a WWE associated television network, and in this particular situation, the CW. And with that, they're talking about moving TNA to Wednesday nights, which would go head to head with AEW Dynamite on TBS or TNT, one of the Time Warner networks. I feel like, and Sean and I were talking about this off air. They're slowly but surely starting to form a monopoly. WWE is, with the acquisition of AAA, which we have seen how their influence has put a lot of hype into this weekend's Triple Mania mega show that they're doing in Mexico. Now TNA, even though they have had a working relationship, I said a while ago, it's just a matter of time before we get them under the TKO umbrella, and it looks like slowly but surely they are making strides to make that a reality. QTNA being moved to CW, especially if, yeah, I mean, they don't even have to move nights, but their presence on the CW, does what does that do in terms of knocking AEW down to the number 3 spot in terms of American-based wrestling companies?
That's the start right there. That's a big move. I mean, nobody has access television, so this is great for TNA to actually get some exposure, and with the help of NXT and WWE, pretty much backing them up. This could be the start of AEW moving on down the card. It might not be a immediate thing. We have to see how it's going to look, but I always say I'll take a wait and see approach. But this is definitely a big move for TNA. This benefits TNA more than anything, and they needed it. They really needed it because I would only watch TNA on YouTube. That's the only I don't even know how to get access television or whatever it was. So this is great for TNA, and I believe they did this deal, and that's why so many of the WWE talent is wearing the TNA gold. I mean, they were strategic when it came to the negotiations here. Let's put a title on Trick Williams and keep it on him for a while, and let him go on the CW and let the CW see what that looks like. They were already testing the waters. So, and I know a lot of people were questioning the IWC were questioning, man, why is WWE defeating all the TNA talent and taking all the titles and all? This was a strategic move. This is their partnership. Let them do what they do. This is their partnership. So, I mean, TNA, they're gonna benefit from this.
In the long run, because you're seeing TNA logo, TNA championships on WWE or NXT people. A lot of fans may not have even known about TNA until this merger, or this partnership. Joe Hendry, we saw a lot of Joe Hendry earlier this year at the Royal Rumble, and then he showed up at WrestleMania when he was the TNA champion. That puts their world
Yep.
title on the biggest platform in the entire industry. And I'm with you on this. Putting the title, the world title on Trick Williams, and then to further that by pre-announcing that there would be an appearance by the Undertaker on NXT, and then you saw the Undertaker in the ring with the guy recognized as the TNA World Champion, was huge for TNA in the grand scheme of things. Because if they were to get their own show on a major network like the CW, they now have name recognition. Um, they now have that ability to reach a whole new spectrum of fans. This is not the Jeff Jarrett TNA. This is not the Dixie Carter TNA. This is a whole new umbrella right now, from the ownership all the way down. And I feel like as long as they can keep the two entities separate and learn from the mistakes of the invasion angle from 2001, we're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. And it's going to add more interest to the brand. Now, Sean, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm low key shitting my pants right now. because and you see what he's doing. He's forming these alliances with New Japan, All of Japan. They've got the Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up here from London. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm freaking out right now. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
absolutely, you would be. I mean, when you got the machine behind you like TNA does, there's no stopping them. And I think this is great because what's going to wind up happening is it's going to make or break AEW. And what I mean by that is look how many stars are actually sitting out on the sidelines when it comes to AEW. Where's Wardlow been? Where's Luchasaurus been? You know, these guys, you know, I have Connor Jones. Hey, Connor, are you listening? Connor Jones always tell me that these guys are hurt or injured. They're not hurt or injured. They're there and they're ready to go. But AEW, every time they take 2 steps forward, they got to take 3 steps back because they don't have anybody who is providing them any regulation in their match and telling these wrestlers, no, please don't go through that giant thing of plate glass, or please, you know, don't put that spiked bat in your back, or, you know, these stupid things. And once TNA is on the same day as them, more than likely the same time, you watch what AEW does. This is either going to make or break them. We're either going to see their major players out there getting hurt, or their major players are going to be getting hurt and they're going to be running second and third string workers out there. It's TNA is learning from the machine. They are learning how to work safely, and how to work with longevity. Where AEW is like taking a whole case of M80s and trying to light it off at one time and not try and blow off a thumb. That's what we're going to see.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be on full display coming up on August the 24th when they're going to the O2 in London. AEW and New Japan are presenting Forbidden Door for I guess this is the 4th annual. Let me run down some of these matches that they do have scheduled for this pay-per-view. You know, because we try to be balanced, you know, because although I am not an AEW fan, like I try, I really truly do. I will read what's going on with them, but everything that I read, whether it's from Meltzer, whether it's from Brian Johnson from PW Insider, like reputable sites. I shouldn't have put Meltzer in that category, but be that as it may, I do follow what he says because if anybody's going to put AEW in the positive light, it's going to be Dave Meltzer, right? So I tried to keep it balanced because we want to be a pro wrestling show, and there's more than just WWE. I understand that, but AEW ain't doing shit for me as a casual fan. That's drawing me in. You like, and I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, the one time they had me was putting Edge and Christian back together as a tag team against FTR. As a fan, that is a great tag team match. Other than that, I couldn't give a rat's ass more about what's going on with them. But I will run down the card real quick. Sean, you have an opinion?
I was going to say, I've been watching AEW here the last few weeks, and I don't know what's changed, if something clicked or what's going on, but they're actually running halfway decent storylines right now. We just saw the reunite, Edge and Christian hug it out here the other night. And, you know, in preparation for this match with FTR, we've watched the Young Bucks fall from grace as the EVPs. I don't know if you've seen their entrances, but they're damn funny. Like, they went from these big grand entrances to like single sparklers and no ring music and just stupid shit. It's actually, I'm actually starting to enjoy watching AEW again, simply because they're not focusing on those viral moments now. They're actually starting to produce some storylines, and I think that's exactly what you're going to have to do in order to compete with this TNA, or not, yeah, with this TNA proposition of them running on the same day as them.
I'd like to think we had something to do with that.
I mean, they're always listening. We know Trips listens to us. Hey, Tripsy. So.
let's run down this card or some of the matches on this card, and then I want to talk about this thing that Eric just posted. And again, if you want to be a part of the show, I'll go ahead. I will post the link here in just a moment again, so you guys can come into the virtual waiting room. We get the notification. We'll bring you on the show live right now. For the AEW World Championship, Hangman Adam Page is going to be going against MJF. For the unified title, you're going to see Okada against Swerve Strickland. For the women's world title, Tony Storm will be defending against Athena. For I know the Hertz Syndicate has a tag team title match, and then this thing, the Lights Out cage match with the Death Riders, Gabe Kidd, and the Young Bucks against Darby Allin, Tachida, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, and Ibushi. Again, August the 24th at the O2 in London. Any matches on that I just rattled off there? Are they of any interest that would make you even think about buying this pay-per-view? I didn't think so.
Yeah, I got a surprise.
I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Athena Tony Storm match. I gotta be honest. I was a fan of Athena back in her Ember Moon days, and Tony Storm has been she makes me smile. I'll just put it that way. She makes me smile, man. I love her work, man. It's the stuff that she's doing, man. She's on a different level as a character, and I love everything about it, man. So I would be interested in watching that match. I don't know about actually buying the pay-per-view or I don't know, but yeah, hey, if it was streaming for free, if I was paying like $9.99 or $29.99, a month, maybe I would check it out. Most likely I would, but as a pay-per-view buy, I don't think I can do it.
It's funny because they still maintain that old school pay-per-view model, which is becoming kind of obsolete, especially with UFC moving their pay-per-views to their new deal with Paramount Plus. Sean, you said you watch AEW and you're starting to get more entertained by what they're putting out there, and I can appreciate that. I'm with Q on this. Of the matches that I seen, Tony Storm and Athena would be the one match. I'm like, yeah, I'd be interested in checking that out. Is there any other match on this card that is of any interest that would make you maybe think about buying the pay per view?
No, I ain't wasting money on this thing. I am curious to know what a lights out steel cage match is, but not enough to pay what they're asking for it. Athena and Tony Storm. I've professed my love for Tony Storm before. I think she's amazing. I've never been a fan of Athena or Ember Moon. Her finisher's kind of cool, but until I can figure out what your gimmick is, I'm probably not going to be a fan. And Q, if you can tell me what Athena's gimmick is, maybe it might draw my interest a little bit more.
Man, I can't break that down. I don't know either.
As a sidebar, Tony Storm, do you think she is the one example of WWE dropping the ball and AEW picking it up and making something of it?
No, and I'll tell you why. They gave Tony Storm a chance. She couldn't work within the parameters. When she got to AEW and she had that little bit of freedom, and those are AEW's rules, then she was able to flourish. I don't think WWE drops the ball with anybody. I think they give them a chance to prove themselves. And we can go all the way back to the days of Dusty Rhodes wearing the yellow polka dots as a prime example. He made that shit work for him. And, you know, if you get a bad gimmick, you figure out how to make it work. Tony Storm, I mean, she came in with the same gimmick into AEW. So, like I said, once she was able to do what she wanted to do, she took aspects from the WWE and she took aspects from her experiences in AEW, and this is where we come up with something that's timeless with Tony Storm.
Well,
Q, what do you think, man?
I'm pretty much in agreement with Sean here, but I also think it's kind of like a case by case basis with you know, because we got so many different personalities that come in and out of that door. Uh, Freedom might not be good for this person, but it might be great for that person. You know, and the structure of WWE might not be good for what Tony Storm was trying to do, because maybe she didn't know how to break out of that shell. She needed the freedom. And you got people like, you know, just like you said, Dusty Rhodes, who said, man, he got that type of personality that can make anything work. So it really comes down to, you know, I say it's a case by case basis for a lot of people. You know, Tony Storm, she hit a home run once she got to AEW, and she didn't have that freedom to do that in WWE, especially, you know, back when Vince was in charge, because Vince, he said, I want you to do this, and this is what you're going to do. Don't you step out of the barrier that I put you in. Maybe if she would have been in a Triple H at WWE, maybe things would have been a little bit different, you know. But hey, it is what it is. I think there's a chance. I mean, Triple H and Tony Storm were, you know, they were cool. Who knows? Down the line, maybe we'll see Tony Storm back in a WWE ring sometime in the future.
I think it's a matter of time. I think she is she's going to be one of those people, much like you gentlemen just said. She was limited to this during her first run. She went out, reinvented herself, or took the ball and ran with it. Kind of put a couple new layers in her presentation to where WWE is like, oh, now maybe we can do something with her. Now on the opposite side of that, you look at a guy like John Moxley, who you see what kind of shit he does when you do take those constraints off him, and he's done more damage to his reputation, to his name, than anything in my view. You know, now he's just the bleeder. There is nothing about John Moxley that appeals to me. And if he was to come back to WWE, I don't give a rat's ass if you reunite the Shield with him being as Dean Ambrose. It ain't going to make a fuck all, because he's done. He has proven he's just not the professional wrestler that he wants to be perceived as. He's looked at as the violence guy, the blood guy. Like, okay, that's cool in doses. But Sean said a couple of months ago, like, the wind blows wrong at this point, and he's busted open. There's no effect to it. It's like, okay, now what? Now what? You're one dimensional, bro.
Yep, got the personality of a popcorn fart, even when he was in the WWE. You know, Dean Ambrose, to me, never appealed to me.
Eric Cherry made a comment here. Yeah. Eric Cherry made a comment here a little bit ago, and I kind of want to expand on this, and then we'll go to any other topics that you gentlemen would like to discuss. That WWE is kind of making themselves the NWA of the territory days, and I can see that. I can see where he comes up with that, and we talked a while ago about the NWA, Billy Corgan's NWA, trying to reestablish a territory system. And we kind of broke that down, the pros and cons, because, you know, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, before Vince went national, like territories broke up the entire country. Like every portion of the country had its own territory, its own promotion. You never crossed those lines. But what that also did was it gave guys and gals these opportunities, these promotions to find out who they are as professional wrestlers, as performers. You know, you gain a little bit of traction, you gain some experience, you gain some exposure before you get called up to one of the big three, which at that time was WWF, the NWA slash WCW, and the AWA. Well, now, when you look at the landscape of professional wrestling, it really is a two-headed monster in terms of a worldwide known organization. You got World Wrestling Entertainment, and you have All Elite Wrestling. I feel like this could be a strategic move to low key reestablish a territory system. If that is the case, I am all here for it. The only thing that I would say is, even though it may be under the WWE umbrella, you need to not make that the focal point of these organizations. Sean, we'll start with you.
What is AEW doing any different than the WWE? You know, All Japan, CMLL. I think what WWE is doing is with AEW, they take one step forward, WWE is countering it. They take another step forward, WWE is countering it. You take CMLL, we're buying AAA. You buy All Japan, we're going to do this. You know, we're going to buy TNA. We got MLW. I think it's a game of chess right now. I think we're looking at a game of real life Monopoly. And I think who's ever got the most money in their bank account is going to win. And I don't think that's Tony Khan or his daddy.
No, because I have maintained, AEW is funded. Now, Tony Khan is the president and all this other shit. That's great. But it's Shad Khan's money that makes Tony Khan who he is.
Yep.
Shad Khan is, his father, owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL, owner of a couple different soccer teams in Europe, in the Middle East. Like that dude is the one who's funding the bill here. And it's just a matter of time, gentlemen. If AEW does not turn this shit around, because if anybody's looking at their ratings, because I do, they have plateaued. They're not going up, and if anything, they're starting to very slowly but surely start moving down, or they're taking a hit. It's just a matter of time before Daddy O goes and he just pulls the plug. That's coming if they don't do something significant here. And I think that's why the headline came out the other day. If Tony Khan could sign one WWE guy to turn his shit around, it would be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Much like Eric Bischoff did with Hulk Hogan in '94 to bring him into WCW. And what happened? The entire company changed and became the number one wrestling promotion in the world for a hot minute, 83 straight weeks. But the difference between Austin and Hogan is Hogan was still wrestling. Austin would, number one, I can't imagine that he would sign with AEW because of his ties to WWE, but he ain't going to be able to wrestle. You can put Steve Austin on TV, but it's not going to as big of a star. And look, hey, I'm the biggest Steve Austin fan I know, but even his influence, even his presence, is not going to make me tune into AEW. Yes, sir.
I got one question for the three of you since you said that.
Yeah.
In your opinion, and then I'll give you my opinion. How do I get rid of that little hand thing? Okay. If Tony Khan could hire one person to help AEW and elevate it to that next level, who would you like to see him hire? Q, we'll go to you first.
Hmm. That's a tricky one. I mean, to be honest, there's not many that would move. I don't think he can. I don't think one person is going to help him eclipse what WWE is doing. Um, and I'm going to answer both of those questions with Stone Cold and who do I think is. First of all, Stone Cold. If he were to sign Stone Cold Steve Austin, that would be reminiscent to when TNA brought in Hulk Hogan after Hulk Hogan was pretty much already broken down.
100%.
Now, if he were to, if Tony Khan were to sign a current star, the closest he can do is Roman Reigns. Cody's already been there. Roman Reigns would be the closest, but even that star will fade because then Roman Reigns is going to start seeing the writing on the wall. Like, because Roman Reigns is not an AEW type guy. If you look at the AEW type guys, you have your Kenny Omegas, your your Okadas, and you got the guys the Ospreys. You got guys like that. Roman Reigns. They AEW don't use big guys. Good. Go ahead, Jason.
Listen, Roman Reigns would be the guy. The problem is he wouldn't be able to be Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' name carries a shit ton of weight nowadays, right? He wouldn't be able to use that in AEW. WWE wouldn't allow that. That is a WWE name. I don't know, Sean, if there is anybody on the roster because they tried it with CM Punk. And if you couldn't make it work with CM Punk, as popular as he is across the world, it ain't going to happen. There is nobody that Tony Khan could sign that would make the same kind of impact, positive impact, to turn AEW around than what we saw in the mid 90s with Hulk Hogan joining WCW. Again, that is a testament to where we are in this era of the business. Roman Reigns, as great as he is, that's part of his presentation. That's part of what makes him who he is. Because Joe and Hawaii isn't going to move the needle. Just isn't. It's part of the presentation. I'll go ahead and say this too. You could bring The Rock. You could bring Shane McMahon because we heard his name brought up a shit ton here last year. You can bring in Vince McMahon to come on under the AEW umbrella. It will generate that one big pop. That one you with somebody like The Rock or one of the McMahons, you would get a 1 month window of curiosity. But once you saw that it's not going to happen, people are not going to give a shit. I just, the CM Punk in AEW thing spoke volumes. Now, a lot of that was Punk's doing. But then you look at the way things are and you're like, man, how frustrated was this guy to make him lash out the way that he did? It's just a testament to why AEW is always going to be the number 2 promotion or 3, as TNA is starting to jockey for position here. It's just a matter of time, dude. Like, we could be sitting here 10 years from now, there ain't going to be all elite wrestling. It will be a memory.
I was thinking myself, for superstar power and curiosity to gain the most views, I know he would never jump ship, but I was thinking, what if your boy went over? The Undertaker went to AEW. And the reason
Okay.
why I say that, not only because of his attraction appeal to the fans, but he is so smart when it comes to the business that he would have the inside track and information to feed to Tony Khan and his cronies to be able to actually maybe write decent storylines and possibly compete with the WWE.
I understand. Look, great example. Great example. The thing of it is he could go over there and he could give them a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. But Sean, Tony Khan's ego as a fan, as a mark, more than anything, he wouldn't know what to do with that information.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
just wouldn't. He's too much of a self mark. He is not interested in running the number one promotion in the industry. He is more interested in playing, for the
With
lack of a
Tony's
better
toy
term,
box.
toys with
Yep.
humans. Yes. Undertaker, but look, Undertaker ain't going nowhere.
No, he's not. He's not.
No. So before anybody takes that soundbite and runs with it, calm the fuck down. That's never going to be a thing.
No.
Okay. But again, and I will maintain, even if he was to go over there and give him all this information on how to run a successful organization, Tony wouldn't know what to do with it.
No.
He would piss it away, just like he did with CM Punk. CM Punk, yeah, again, that spoke volumes about the maturity level of all the elite wrestling from the inside out, in my view. Q, you're a big Undertaker fan. Do you, if he was to go to AEW in some capacity, would he be the guy that could make the needle move, much like Hogan did for WCW?
No, man. I think the Undertaker would get frustrated over there
Mm-hmm.
because he will see how the locker room is, and he'll see how the guys work over there, and that's Taker's old school, man. He'll let you know, like, he's old school. He don't like everybody back there doing TikToks and all this stuff or playing video games. AEW is ran by a bunch of TikTokers and a bunch of young guys that's pretty much doing whatever they want to do in the ring. It's a spot fest, and not saying that it's all bad, because there are elements of AEW I like. I'm not fully in the boat with Sean, but I do enjoy some of it. I do enjoy some of it when I do catch it. But Undertaker going over there, man, it it would be like AEW Unreal. Everything is just gonna unravel. It's like mixing oil and water. There's no mix there. Like, there's no way that it's gonna be kind of like a train wreck, because then you're looking at Undertaker's legacy and you're like, man, I'm losing it for him. I'm losing for AEW, and it's too much, man. It's just not a good fit. It'll move the needle temporarily, though, because people are just going to be curious. Because
Right.
isn't that what the IWC? They just want to see what's going to happen, and then they want to make noise. That's what's going to really destroy AEW right there. You got Undertaker over there. People are going to make all kind of crazy noise over there. And it's going to be all bad. It's going to be all bad. Just as bad as the stripes on my face right now. Nothing good is going to come out of that. Nothing. And a disclaimer, as I was talking, there was a net flying around in my room. And my last point, it flew in my mouth and went down my throat. That's how bad this mixture would be between Undertaker and AEW. It's gonna be like a net flying down my throat and trying to choke me out, man. Don't mix.
Well,
Not at all.
I'm glad you kicked out of that, pal. Oh, that's too funny. Too funny. All right. Is there anything else you guys would like to discuss before we put a bow on this episode?
You go first.
I do want to get you both of your opinions on a little bit more elaborately on the Brock Lesnar return and possibly Brock Lesnar being John Cena's final opponent since Logan Paul seems to be up next.
Hey, Sean, go ahead. Well, I'll let you go first. I get long-winded.
Yeah, I'll probably be real short with it, and I'll probably get a lot of hate for this. But, you know, well, it was a few years ago we had that Speak Out movement, and a lot of workers had an accusatory finger pointed at them. And the IWC really gave it to them with both barrels. And a lot of independent workers, a lot of mainstream workers lost their jobs, lost their careers because they were found guilty without due process. They were found guilty in the eyes of public opinion rather than a court of law. And I know a lot of women will jump to this and say, well, some women are too scared to take this to court, or you already spoke up. Take the next step. Prove your case. And in some instances, all it took was one person pointing a finger to ruin a person's career. Brock Lesnar has now been cleared of all these charges, and people are still up in arms about it. And it kind of pisses me off because we're supposed to be in a country where a person's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Velveteen Dream is an example of this. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is an example of this. Joey Ryan, who was just supposed to be booked on a return comeback show, was found guilty in the court of public opinion. Now, he did have multiple accusations thrown at him, but why wasn't it pursued? Brock Lesnar being back, I think, is awesome. I think it'll make for a great last match for John Cena, because this goes all the way back to the Ohio Valley days when you had collegiate Brock Lesnar against a prototype John Cena. And it just seems to me that it would tie a nice little bow at the end of John Cena's career to wrestle a guy he actually started in the business with. Take all the legal stuff aside. In my opinion, if he wasn't found guilty, he's not guilty. If it wasn't put in court, he's not guilty. Yeah, man's innocent until proven guilty, and the IWC needs to learn this fact real quick. Because I don't know about you fellas, I live in the United States of America. And that's all I got to say about that.
I am surprised that they're going Cena versus Logan Paul at Clash in Paris. We'll look at that card late, more in depth next on the next episode here. Brock Lesnar. Okay, I'll sum it up like this. They let Brock Lesnar beat the streak of The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And I felt like if you were going to break the streak, which at that point was up to 21-0, that should have been done. That should have been reserved for somebody that was young, up and coming, that could have really used that accolade and put a rocket on their back and fire him to the stratosphere. That should have been Roman Reigns. I feel like the same thing with John Cena. John Cena's last match should be against a guy who could really benefit from that rub. To be the guy that retired John Cena. And I said a couple of weeks ago, that should be Logan Paul. I don't like Logan Paul as a person, if I could be honest with you. As a person, I think he's a piece of shit. But I cannot deny what he does, his athletic ability, the reaction that he gets from wrestling fans. He's got no business being as good as he is. But he's Logan Paul. And I understand he's a major influencer. I get that. He should be John Cena's last opponent, not Brock Lesnar. I feel like if anything, you should be bringing Lesnar in, send him to Paris to fight Cena, have Cena go over him to avenge the 2012 return and the drubbing that we saw Lesnar put Cena through. This is Cena's avenge. He gets to avenge that loss. He gets to kind of scrub down the domination that we saw against Brock Lesnar to set him up to put Logan Paul on a path that's going to take him to the WWE Championship. That's my opinion.
I actually totally agree with just about everything you said. Logan Paul wasn't on my radar, and I'm kind of glad that you brought him up because, man, that would definitely strap a rocket to him. And that's man, it's the two guys that I had in mind for John Cena's last match. The first one was Gunther. I wanted to see Gunther finish off John Cena, and that was before he finished off Goldberg. So now that he finished off Goldberg, I'm like, okay, maybe they'll choose someone else. I don't think they want to have Gunther retire Goldberg and John Cena. Maybe that's too much. But the second guy that I had on my I mean, I'll take it. But the other guy that I had in mind, and it was before the whole Seth Rollins thing, was Braun Breaker. Like, I really wanted to see Braun Breaker be that guy. And really, Braun Breaker was my number one because, Gunther already had, his numerous title wins. Braun Breaker is still trying to crack that ceiling, man. And that would be a way to catapult him into the Royal Rumble season, into the WrestleMania season, and really, really elevate this dude. Logan Paul, I think, is another good choice because the work that this guy puts in is, I mean, you can't deny it.
Right.
Even like we talked earlier about, kayfabe and, what's real, what's not, what's a work, what's a shoot. Logan Paul is the same everywhere he goes. And that's one thing I admire of him. Real similar to like a Roddy Piper, like that's just always the same wherever he goes. He's a heel in real life, in the streets. He's a heel on his show, on his podcast. He's a heel on SmackDown, on Raw. I mean, this guy is consistent, and that's what I love to see in a business where we don't know what's a shoot or what's a work these days. Somebody consistent like that, I respect. I love the fact that Logan Paul would be a great choice to be the last opponent of John Cena.
Yeah, I just hope it's not Lesnar at this point, being Cena's last opponent. He's done enough. Like, if you're going to bring him back here to start putting over some of this newer talent, much like he was afforded to during the duration of his career, his various stints with WWE. You look at his career, he won his first world title from The Rock. I mean, just a handful of months after his debut. He beat The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. He's done all these amazing things against some of the biggest names in the business. Decimated Hogan in a way that we had never seen before. Like left him in a bloody pulp, and it was so disturbing to watch that. Um, Now, in more recent times, he did put over Cody Rhodes, at the culmination of their feud at SummerSlam in Detroit, if memory serves.
Yep.
And you were there, Q. So
Yep.
it's time for Brock to start giving back to the business, and I feel like Cena, of all people, is so deserving of that win back, and I really wish they were doing that with this clash in Paris. Because here's the thing, man, we're down to single digits in terms of how many more times we get to see John Cena, and you got to be real
Yes.
strategic about who you're putting him in there with. Braun Breaker, absolutely. Gunther, I can see it. Um, but in my opinion, man, it does come back down to Logan Paul. As much as it pains me to say that, but I have to recognize what it is. So if anybody is sitting there that I get accused of just being a fanboy and letting that mold my opinion on shit. No, I see the way things are. And Logan Paul, as much as I hate to admit it, as long as he stays loyal and consistent, he's the future of WWE. He's going to be one of those five guys that's going to carry WWE to the next era. Him, Braun Breaker, Gunther can be included in this. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Jey Uso, but he could be. Um, LA Knight again, and although I'm glad he's getting this opportunity at the Clash for, in this fatal four way for the world title, that window of opportunity on him is closing, but he could be. Um, yeah, don't let Lesnar be Cena's last opponent. He does not need
No.
or deserve that accolade, in my view.
Lesnar, Gunther. That's all I need to say. That's what we need to see. Lesnar, Gunther, and then Lesnar can go and cut some meat up, somewhere. Go back to butchering. I don't need to see Lesnar on my TV. Nothing against him. I'm not uh, gonna talk about all that lawsuit stuff. It's over with him.
Right.
Um, but man, there's nothing else for him to do other than get in the ring with Gunther.
I agree. Could not agree more. And on paper, that is a pay-per-view main event. You really could put a lot of promotion. I'm not saying one of the big four, but certainly on one of these second tier PLEs, um, Backlash or Extreme Rules or some bullshit like this. So we're down to one final four or one big four premium live event here this year, the Survivor Series at Petco Park in San Diego, home of the San Diego Padres. Which sidebar, and we'll leave it with this. My son Austin just went out there last week. Was out in San Diego. Went to Petco Park to catch a Padres game, and I had asked him if he had seen anything WWE related in terms of the Survivor Series being there. He's like, dude, you couldn't go anywhere in that stadium without seeing something about the Survivor Series being there. So it's kind of cool that they're putting that kind of hype into it for
Mm-hmm.
end up being War Games. So pretty cool. Just wanted to make mention of that. We're going to go ahead and start winding this episode down. We certainly appreciate everybody who tuned in here tonight, or if you're listening or watching this on the RSS feed when this drops over the weekend. We will be back at the studio of ONTV in 2 weeks. Brock versus Braun. Yeah, yeah, I can see that too. That would be a damn good match, and have Braun go over. You know,
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
it,
Yep.
it's time to start. It's time for Lesnar to start giving back to the business that actually made him a star. It wasn't UFC. It was WWE. With that, we appreciate you all. Check out our socials for all the latest news, information about this show and all of our great shows. PFCnetwork.net for your one-stop website for all of the information. And with that, go out this week, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on the Fatal 4-Way as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network.